Did you know England technically still owns part of the US? Or that an entire town in Iowa woke up on the wrong side of a river? And the Grand Canyon? It's famous, sure, but it's not even the deepest canyon in the US. Why is it so iconic then? Stick around, because we're about to uncover 50 absolutely jaw-dropping US geography facts you probably didn't know. Fact 50. A name so long, it's a tongue twister. Welcome to Lake Chargoga Gog Manchauga Gog Chaubunagu Ngamog in Massachusetts. With 45 characters, it's the longest place name in the US and the third longest in the world. The name comes from the Nipmuc people and means English knifemen and Nipmuc Indians at the boundary or neutral fishing place. But most folks just call it Webster Lake to save themselves a headache. Locals, however, take great pride in preserving the lake's full name. Would you dare try to pronounce it? Fact 49. California is slowly being torn apart. The infamous San Andreas Fault in California is more than just a ticking geological time bomb. It's actively consuming nearly 2 inches of land every year. This boundary between the Pacific and North American tectonic plates is constantly shifting, with the Pacific plate moving westward toward Japan. At this rate, San Francisco and Los Angeles could end up neighbors in 15 million years. It's a slow-motion continental drift that's literally reshaping the map of California. Fact 48. The world's smallest park is for leprechauns. Portland, Oregon is home to Millen's Park, the world's tiniest park at just 2 feet wide. It even has a leprechaun backstory. Journalist Dick Fagan claimed he saw a leprechaun digging there and wished for his own park. The city officially made it a park in 1976, because why not? Fact 47. Texas is bigger than you thought, partner. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? Well, get this. The distance from El Paso to Houston is nearly the same as El Paso to Los Angeles. At 770 miles wide, Texas spans nearly 1/10 the diameter of the Earth. That's a lot of BBQ and cowboy hats. Fact 46. Half the US lives in just 10 states. Over 50% of Americans reside in just 10 states, including New York, California, and Texas. Major cities like NYC, LA, and Chicago contribute to this, but the combined population of these states is a staggering 170 million people. Talk about crowded. Fact 45. One county is bigger than 40 states. Los Angeles County alone has 9.7 million residents, more than 40 US states. It's like an entire country packed into one county. Meanwhile, a massive state like Wyoming has only 580,000 people, despite being 24 times larger than LA County. Fact 44. Wyoming's name has East Coast roots. Surprise! The name Wyoming actually comes from a Native American word for a region near Scranton, Pennsylvania. How did it end up out west? As tribes were forcibly moved westward, they brought the name along with them. Today, Scranton's Wyoming Valley still holds a connection to its namesake state. Fact 43. Mind-bending geography. Did you know you can drive south from the US to Canada? It sounds impossible, but driving south from Detroit actually takes you straight into Canada. That's because Windsor, one of Canada's most populated cities, sits directly south of Detroit, thanks to the way the Canadian peninsula dips toward Michigan. The two cities are connected by a tunnel that's less than a mile long, but border checkpoints ensure it's a longer trip than it sounds. Fact 42. Californians living north of Canada. It's true, some Californians live farther north than Canada's southernmost point. California's northern border sits at 42 degrees latitude, while Canada's southernmost tip, Middle Island in Lake Erie, is just 41.7 degrees latitude. It's one of those quirks of geography that defy our typical north-south assumptions. Fact 41. America's deepest lake is an ancient volcano. Oregon's Crater Lake plunges 1,900 feet deep, making it the deepest lake in the US. It was formed over 7,000 years ago when Mount Mazama erupted and collapsed into itself, creating a stunning water-filled caldera. That's deep enough to stack 6 statues of liberty. Fact 40. The US Waterways. The secret to America's success. Did you know that one of the reasons the United States became an economic powerhouse is its extensive and navigable waterways? The U.S. boasts an incredible 17,600 to 25,000 miles of deep, wide, and calm rivers, perfect for transporting goods and connecting 38 states. Unlike northern rivers that freeze over, the Mississippi, Missouri, and countless other rivers remain active year-round, fueling trade and creating economic centers far from coastal areas. Fact 39. The journey of a single drop. If you spilled a drop of water in the Mississippi River's source in Minnesota, it would take an astonishing 90 days to reach the Gulf of Mexico. That's over 2,300 miles of winding waterways, about the same time it would take to walk from New York to Los Angeles. Fact 38. Yellowstone's hidden supervolcano. Yellowstone National Park isn't just a haven for geysers and hot springs. It's sitting on top of a supervolcano. This isn't just any volcano. It's capable of spewing over 240 cubic miles of material into the air, as it did during its last major eruption 640,000 years ago. Luckily, it's dormant for now, and scientists believe they'd have months of warning if another eruption were to occur. Fact 37. Snow in Paradise, Hawaii may be a tropical paradise, but every winter, its towering volcanoes, Mauna Kea, Mauna Loa, and Haleakala, are blanketed with snow. These peaks, towering over 10,000 feet, even inspired the name Mauna Kea, meaning White Mountain. Fact 36. Hawaii's natural borders. Speaking of Hawaii, it's the only U.S. state whose borders are defined entirely by natural features. No straight lines, no artificial demarcations, just the ocean. In contrast, states on the mainland often have borders that awkwardly cut across mountain ranges, rivers, and other natural features, as seen with the Rocky Mountains slicing through states like Colorado and New Mexico. Fact 35. The tallest tree. You can't visit California's Redwood National Park is home to Hyperion, the tallest tree in the world, standing a staggering 380 feet, 115 meters tall. Estimated to be 600–800 years old, its location is strictly off-limits due to damage caused by visitors. Anyone caught venturing near the tree faces a $5,000 fine or 6 months in jail. Despite its height, rangers insist the tree's grandeur is hard to appreciate from the ground. Fact 34. The largest tree by volume. Not far away in Sequoia National Park stands General Sherman, the world's largest tree by volume. This majestic redwood boasts a total volume of 52,500 cubic feet, 1,487 cubic meters, and a circumference of 103 feet, 31.3 meters, near the base. It's a must-see for visitors to the park. Fact 33. The oldest living tree. In Inyo National Forest, California, claims another tree-related record. Methuselah, a bristlecone pine over 4,600 years old. Located on the Methuselah Trail, its exact spot remains a secret to protect it. Amazingly, Methuselah was already growing when the Great Pyramid of Giza was under construction. Fact 32. Every major biome, from the tundra in Alaska to the rainforests of the Pacific Northwest and the deserts of the Southwest, the U.S. is one of the few countries encompassing all major biomes. Almost every subtype of biome, except for the savanna, can be found across the nation's vast landscape. Fact 31. The sunniest spot on Earth. Yuma, Arizona, holds the title of the sunniest place on Earth, receiving over 4,000 hours of sunlight annually. Summer days average 13 hours of sun, while winter days get a sunny 11 hours, making it a year-round paradise for sunlight lovers. Fact 30. Tampa is west of South America. Most people assume South America lies directly beneath North America, but the continent is actually much farther east. For example, Tampa, Florida, is west of the entire South American mainland, with only the Galapagos Islands lying farther west. Fact 29. The world's longest boardwalk, Atlantic City, New Jersey, boasts the longest and oldest boardwalk in the world. Spanning 5.5 miles, 8.8 kilometers, this historic attraction was built in 1870 to keep sand out of hotels and trains. Today, it's a major draw for visitors, alongside the city's famous casinos. Fact 28. The longest bridge over water. The Lake Pontchartrain Causeway in Louisiana stretches nearly 24 miles, 38 kilometers, and connects Metairie to Mandeville. Built on 9,500 concrete pilings, the bridge opened in 1956 to ease commutes across Lake Pontchartrain. Drivers often lose sight of land during the 8-mile, 12-kilometer middle stretch, leading to occasional anxiety-induced freezes that require police escorts. Fact 27. Delmarva Peninsula's statehood dreams. The Delmarva Peninsula, shared by Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, is named after these three states. Spanning 170 miles, 273 kilometers, it's a hotspot for tourism thanks to its beaches and fishing. While Maryland residents have attempted to form a separate state several times, most recently in 1998, the movement has yet to succeed. Despite this, local pride remains strong, with businesses adopting the Delmarva name. Fact 26. Maine is south of Paris. Though Paris and London are often imagined as parallel to New York due to similar weather, Maine lies entirely south of Paris. London, meanwhile, is north of almost all the U.S. except Alaska. These European cities feel milder due to the warming effects of the Gulf Stream. Fact 25. A tiny U.S. plot belongs to England. In Ocracoke, North Carolina, a small cemetery leased to England is the final resting place of 4 British sailors from Wippuar. These sailors died aboard the HMS Bedfordshire, and the leased plot ensures they are technically buried in their homeland. Fact 24. Indigenous land in the U.S. Native American reservations account for just 2.3% of the total U.S. land area, around 56 million acres. 624 square kilometers. Much of this land is unsuitable for farming or lacks drinkable water, highlighting the stark loss of territory Native Americans have faced. Fact 23. Land for livestock. A staggering 35% of the contiguous U.S. is used as pasture land for cattle, totaling 654 million acres, 2.6 million square kilometers. Including cropland for cow feed, raises this to 41% of all land use. 9 states, including Nebraska, Montana, and Wyoming, have more cows than people, emphasizing the dominance of livestock in U.S. land use. Fact 22. Atlanta is west of Detroit. At first glance, this seems counterintuitive. Atlanta, Georgia, is in the southeastern United States, while Detroit, Michigan, is in the Midwest, north of Atlanta. However, the eastern seaboard tilts inward as it extends southward. Because of this slant, Atlanta, situated farther south, is actually west of Detroit when you compare their longitudes. This surprising geographical detail is a great reminder of how the curvature of the Earth and the arrangement of land masses can disrupt our mental maps. Fact 21. Carter Lake's accidental relocation. In 1877, a massive flood completely changed the Missouri River's course, redirecting it to the east of Carter Lake. Overnight, the town found itself isolated from the rest of Iowa and surrounded by Nebraska. Despite this unusual geographic mishap, the town remained part of Iowa rather than being absorbed into Nebraska. Today, Carter Lake is a fascinating geographical quirk, a small town with Iowa roots and a Nebraska backdrop. This unique situation also led to some interesting logistical challenges, such as jurisdictional matters and the provision of state services. Fact 20. New Mexico's crooked borders in the U.S. are often thought to be precise, but New Mexico's eastern border is an exception. The state's boundary with Oklahoma and Texas was supposed to follow the 103rd meridian, a straight north-south line. However, a surveyor in the late 19th century made a critical error while mapping the border. He measured one section from north to south and another from south to north, causing a mismatch. This resulted in a slight eastward shift of the southern portion of the border by about 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers. Despite the mistake, New Mexico never appealed to reclaim the small area of land it lost, leaving the crooked border as an amusing historical footnote. Fact 19. Crocodiles and alligators coexist in the Everglades. The Florida Everglades is a unique wetland ecosystem that supports an incredible diversity of wildlife. One of its most fascinating claims to fame is that it's the only place on Earth where American crocodiles and American alligators coexist in the wild. These two reptiles, while similar in appearance, have notable differences. Alligators tend to have darker, almost black skin and broad U-shaped snouts, while crocodiles are lighter in color with V-shaped snouts. The Everglades provide the perfect habitat for both species due to its mix of freshwater and saltwater environments. Despite sharing a home, these reptiles rarely interact due to their differing preferences for water salinity. For those venturing into the swamps, it's wise to steer clear of both species, as they can be dangerous. Fact 18. The U.S. hosts polar bears. Polar bears are icons of the Arctic, and thanks to Alaska, the U.S. is one of the 5 countries that can claim these majestic creatures as residents. Alaska's remote northern coastlines and sea ice provide a habitat for an estimated 4,000 to 7,000 polar bears. These large carnivores rely heavily on sea ice for hunting seals, their primary food source. Besides the U.S., polar bears also roam the Arctic regions of Russia, Canada, Norway, including Svalbard, and Denmark via Greenland. Counting polar bears is a challenging task due to their wide range and remote habitat, so scientists rely on estimates rather than exact numbers. Despite their resilience to extreme cold, polar bears face threats from climate change as melting sea ice reduces their hunting grounds and overall survival chances. Fact 17. Michigan's disconnected peninsulas. When Michigan applied for statehood in 1835, it tried to claim the Toledo Strip, a valuable piece of land near Lake Erie. Ohio, also eyeing the Strip for its access to Lake Erie's ports, fiercely opposed Michigan's claim. This sparked the Toledo War, a heated boundary dispute that stopped just short of actual violence. To resolve the issue, Congress granted Ohio the Toledo Strip and compensated Michigan with the Upper Peninsula, UP, a sparsely populated area then thought to be of little value. Ironically, the UP turned out to be rich in natural resources like timber, copper, and iron. Today, Michigan remains divided into 2 disconnected landmasses, with the iconic Mackinac Bridge linking the Lower Peninsula and the UP. Fact 16. Minnesota's northwest angle. Minnesota's northern border takes an unusual detour into Canada, creating a small section of U.S. land known as the Northwest Angle. This geographic anomaly arose from the 1783 Treaty of Paris, where the U.S. and Great Britain used inaccurate maps to define boundaries. They intended the border to follow a northwest line through the Lake of the Woods, but due to cartographic errors, the line ended up creating this odd pocket of U.S. territory surrounded by Canadian land and water. Accessible only by crossing Canadian land or traveling by boat, the Northwest Angle is home to a small community and remains a curiosity for geography enthusiasts. Fact 15. The land barons of America. In the U.S., the 100 largest landowning families collectively own enough land to cover the state of Florida. Among the top owners are the Emerson family, who own 2.4 million acres through Sierra Pacific Industries, and John Malone, who holds 2.2 million acres of cattle ranches and timberland. These families represent the stark concentration of land ownership in America, where vast tracts of land are used for forestry, ranching, and other industries. Together, their holdings rival the size of entire states and are emblematic of the immense scale of land use in the U.S. Fact 14. Montpelier, Vermont's distinction. Montpelier, Vermont is the only U.S. state capital without a McDonald's. With a population of just over 7,000, it's also the smallest state capital in the country. The city has preserved its charm by favoring local businesses over big corporate chains. This commitment to small-town values makes Montpelier an exception in a country where McDonald's is nearly ubiquitous. It's a haven for those seeking a more personal, community-driven dining experience. Fact 13. Rockefeller Forest, the world's tallest, located in California's Humboldt Redwoods State Park. The Rockefeller Forest is home to the tallest trees on Earth. These coast redwoods can grow over 300 feet tall, with some towering close to 380 feet. Their remarkable height is attributed to the region's unique climate, which provides cool temperatures, abundant fog, and steady moisture. The forest is named after the Rockefeller family, who contributed to its preservation, ensuring that these awe-inspiring giants remain a natural wonder for generations to come. Fact 12. Kilauea, the world's most active volcano. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano holds the title of the world's most active volcano. Located on the Big Island, Kilauea has been erupting almost continuously for over 200 years. Its eruptions are typically non-explosive, characterized by slow-moving lava flows that reshape the landscape. The most recent significant eruption occurred in June 2024. Kilauea is not only a geological marvel, but also holds cultural significance for native Hawaiians, who revere it as the home of Pele, the goddess of fire and volcanoes. Fact 11. Nevada, a land owned by the federal government. An astonishing 85% of Nevada's land is owned by the federal government. This vast expanse is managed primarily by the Bureau of Land Management and includes deserts, mountain ranges, and military installations. The federal land ownership stems from Nevada's sparse population and challenging geography when it achieved statehood. Today, this land is used for a variety of purposes, including conservation, recreation, and military operations. The state's unique land distribution is both a point of pride and a source of political debate regarding land use and federal control. Fact 10. Las Vegas belongs to Nevada because Arizona supported the Confederacy. In the mid-19th century, gold was discovered in the southern tip of the Arizona Territory. Both Arizona and Nevada laid claim to this region, which includes present-day Las Vegas. At the time, Nevada's southern border was 60 miles north of Las Vegas. Congress had to decide which state would manage the influx of gold miners, and Nevada was chosen because it was deemed better equipped. However, the timing of this decision in 1867 was no coincidence. Arizona, which had shown support for the Confederacy during the Civil War, wasn't in Congress's good graces. As a result, Nevada gained both Las Vegas and access to the Colorado River, shaping its southern border as we know it today. Fact 9. Counties with economies larger than entire countries. In 2022, 39 U.S. counties had a GDP exceeding $100 billion. Or for example, Los Angeles County's GDP was an impressive $913 billion, ranking it between Switzerland and Poland in economic output. Other affluent counties include New York County, Manhattan, Cook County, Chicago, and Harris County, Houston. These regions are economic powerhouses driven by industries such as finance, technology, and energy, reflecting the immense economic disparity between densely populated metropolitan areas and rural regions in the U.S. Fact 8. Kentucky Bend, the isolated corner of Kentucky. Kentucky Bend is a small crescent-shaped piece of land surrounded by the Mississippi River, effectively isolating it from the rest of Kentucky. This peculiar border resulted from an error when state lines were drawn between Kentucky and Tennessee, slicing through a river bend. With only 18 residents today, Kentucky Bend has minimal practical issues. But its unique geography has historically led to debates over which state it truly belongs to. The region even has a church called Compromise built on the state line, where attendees would sit on the side representing their preferred state. Fact 7. The curious geography of Point Roberts, Washington. Point Roberts, a 4.9 square mile exclave of the U.S., is located south of Vancouver on the Saw-Wasson Peninsula. It can only be reached by crossing into Canada or traveling by boat or plane. This peculiar geographic oddity arose from the 1846 Oregon Treaty, which set the U.S.-Canada border at the 49th parallel. The treaty overlooked the fact that the peninsula dips below this line, leaving Point Roberts disconnected from the rest of Washington state. Today, this tiny community relies heavily on Canada for access to goods and services. Fact 6. Washington, the most honored president in U.S. geography. George Washington's name graces 94 places across the United States, including the state of Washington, 31 counties, and the capital, Washington, D.C. No other U.S. president has been so widely commemorated in geographical names. The second most honored president is Abraham Lincoln, with numerous places bearing his name, though not quite as extensively as Washington. Fact 5. Ohio's Crystal Cave. A geode large enough to stand in Ohio is home to what may be the world's largest geode. Discovered in 1897 by workers digging a well for Heinemann's winery in Put-in Bay, this geological marvel is lined with celestite crystals up to 3 feet wide. Known as Crystal Cave, the geode is so massive that it can accommodate up to 30 people inside. While Spain's Pulpi geode is a close contender for the title, Ohio's Crystal Cave remains a glittering wonder for visitors. Fact 4. Whittier, Alaska, a town under one roof. Whittier, Alaska, is a town like no other. Nearly all of its 263 residents live in Begich Towers, a 14-story building that also houses a general store, post office, police station, church, and hospital. This unique arrangement is particularly practical in the harsh Alaskan winters, where going outdoors can be treacherous. The city under one roof concept has made Whittier a fascinating example of a close-knit, self-contained community. Fact 3. Only 17 state capitals are their state's largest cities. Out of 50 U.S. states, only 17 have capitals that double as their largest cities. Examples include Phoenix, Arizona, and Atlanta, Georgia. However, many state capitals, like Sacramento, California, and Albany, New York, were chosen for historical, geographic, or political reasons rather than size. Early American leaders often preferred placing capitals in less dominant locations to balance political and economic power within the state. Fact 2. London Bridge is in Arizona. The iconic London Bridge, originally built in the 1830s over the River Thames, now resides in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. By the 1960s, the bridge had begun to deteriorate, prompting London to sell it. American entrepreneur Robert McCulloch purchased it, disassembled it, and shipped it to Arizona, where it was reconstructed brick by brick. The bridge has since become a tourist attraction, offering visitors a touch of British history in the American desert. Fact 1. The Grand Canyon isn't the deepest canyon in the U.S. While the Grand Canyon is undoubtedly the most famous, Hell's Canyon, located along the borders of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, is deeper. Hell's Canyon plunges to a depth of 8,000 feet, compared to the Grand Canyon's 6,000 feet. However, the Grand Canyon's vast size, breathtaking rock formations, and iconic status have earned it global recognition, overshadowing the lesser-known, yet equally remarkable, Hell's Canyon. Stay tuned for more mind-blowing U.S. geography facts that challenge everything you thought you knew.